How to install a wooden deck on joists. Difficulty level 2 hammers. As a connection between home and garden, the terrace becomes an extra living space on fine days. Give it a beautiful makeover in wood with decking fitted over joists. You will need pine joists, class 4 in 40 by 60 or 50 by 70. Hammer-in wall plugs. Decking slats, 10 mm blocks. 8 mm buffer pads, X blocks, bitumen tape, edging strips, and partially threaded steel screws. Make sure you have a tape measure, a spirit level, a set square, a masonry ruler, a hammer, a folding workbench, a pencil, a circular saw possibly with a guard, a drill, a screw gun, a scrap block of wood, a radial saw, possibly a handsaw, a milling attachment and a marking line. Make sure you wear safety goggles and protective gloves. It is best to place the decking strips perpendicular to the direction of walking. Using buffers under the frame will help to keep water flowing freely and avoid all contact with the soil. The slats are then laid crossways. Maintain a gap of 40 to 50 centimeters between the joists, depending on the thickness or the composition of the slats. Preparing the joists. Place a 10 to 15 mm block against the wall, then the joist, and mark the cutting line at the other end and saw. These must be pegged to the soil, starting 10 centimeters from the end of the first hole, and then every 80 centimeters. At the other end, also drill at the 10 centimeter point. Create a milling to countersink the screw head. Position the buffers every 50 to 60 centimeters in the same direction as the joist. Near the edge of the deck, create an expansion space on the sides and at the end, using a 10 to 15 mm block against the wall. Drill into the base at each hole, going through the joist with a drill bit for concrete, but without piercing the pads. The plugs can then be driven in with a hammer. Continue with the rest of the joists, keeping a gap of 40 centimeters with the line, depending on the thickness of the slats. Check the slats are at an even height. Next, put the bitumen tape in place. If there is a fault in the decking strip, this may be corrected with plastic blocks on the buffer pad or pads concerned. The slats are fixed perpendicular to the joists. Start at the edge of the deck by placing the 10 mm expansion blocks against the wall. The other end of the slat must reach halfway across the joist. Mark a line in pencil. Use the set square. Then saw. Preparing the first line. Raise up the height of the finishing slat and saw if necessary. Provisionally place the intended finishing slat on the base surface and fix the first slat to cover it. Each screw hole is placed 20 mm from the edge, except the edge of the overhang, as the slat must be screwed to the joist. Make a pilot hole and mill to countersink the screw head. Then screw in. The length of the screw must be 2.5 times the thickness of the slat. Leave a gap of 2 mm and measure the remaining distance to reach the edge of the deck. Allow a few extra centimeters. This overhang will enable you to complete the finishing profile of the deck. Fix using the same principle. Depending on your design, do a trial layout first to minimize scraps as much as possible. For the next line, in this case, place a whole slat at the end of the deck. Place it mid-joist and position the blocks from 4 to 7 mm between the slats. Place a 10 mm block against the wall too, and a 2 mm block at the end of the previous slat. Measure, saw, and fix using the same principle. Continue in the same way row by row. At the final edge, position the intended finishing profile, mark, and draw the cutting line for the slats with the marking line. Trim the edges of the slats with the circular saw. Fix the final slats around the edge. It looks better to place the finishing profile last. Whether you are using exotic or European wood, there are numerous stains available to personalize your deck as you wish. Need more info? Call 010 493 5170.